One of the biggest topics in Australian sprint car racing right now is the now mandated Tozuda impact indicator. The device is compulsory for all drivers to wear by sticking it to the back of their helmets. We've spoken with SCCA Secretary Mark Richards on the subject, and just recently with supercars and sprint car driver Cam Waters to hear his view on the device. Those interviews are packed with info from the people themselves, and if you haven't already watched them, I've attached a link to those videos down below in the description. Having said that, I figured it was now only fair to speak with a motorsport safety expert. I contacted Michael Nan, or as most people call him, Safety Mike, to have him explain how and why helmets are certified and homologated, why motorsport helmet manufacturers are condemning the use of this device, how the device became mandated in Australian sprint car racing, and more. Here's our chat.
My experience is I've had my own business now, Performance Racegear, coming up for 10 years in June. Previous to that, for a short while, I worked for Revolution Racegear. I've been involved with racing since the day I was born, through my father's racing, through my son's racing, through my own racing. So, yeah, I'm 58. I've been in it a long time.
Can you explain who the bodies are that test helmets to motorsport standards, and then explain how helmets are certified or homologated?
Sure, okay. It's going to be a bit of a long one, Toby. There's basically two governing bodies for motorsport helmets. The SNELL, S-N-E-L-L, and the FIA. The SNELL is an American-born organization that deals with mainly American-type product, but also certifies European model helmets to suit mainly the US market. The predominant helmet standard is the FIA 8859 and FIA 8860 standards. The whole procedure really starts from when Toby Balboa Enterprises want to start making helmets. You would then start making a helmet. You would then send that helmet off to the FIA testing houses, of which currently there is one in Europe. SNELL have just approved to become an FIA testing house. I think that's a long way off from happening, but it's actually on the list as approval pending. You would send your helmet off. You would pay your fee for the testing. The FIA would then put that helmet through the rigorous 8859 testing process. If at that point your helmet passed 8859 standard, you would then be given what we call a homologation number. I've had quite a few people asking me, what's a homologation? What does it mean? What does it mean? It simply means that your helmet has passed that FIA 8859 standard. So you then get a homologation number. So all your helmets manufactured with Toby Balboa Enterprises on it come with a sticker inside it and an FIA hologram to show who the manufacturer is, what the sizing is, and what standard it's to. Also, with part of the homologation, you send your accessories to be tested with the helmet. As an example, this is a Schubert chin bar. I don't know how easy that is for you to see for your viewers, but
yeah, I can
this is the chin bar. Sits here on the helmet. As you can see from the back end of it, it's got about 2-3 mil piece, a double-sided 3M tape on it. Sounds a bit flimsy, sounds a bit feeble. The simple reason that this is flimsy and feeble is when it's glued on the helmet, be it a chin bar, a rear wing spoiler, whatever accessory that's homologated, when you have a crash, big tumble, the car, F1 car, whatever is deformed, this can be ripped off. This can be ripped off. This can be ripped off. All the bits can be ripped off to give the person rescuing you a few more mil, 10 mil, an inch. In the case of a back spoiler, probably 2 inches, 50 mil. That can be the difference between getting you in and out of a car with a deformed roll cage. So all these parts, be it, front, back, side, everything is homologated with the helmet. All these parts come on the homologation document, which I'm sure you'll show the viewers from Schubert. Whether it's Arai, Schubert, Bell, Stilo, any FIA helmet has all the accessories listed that are approved for use. If you are not on that list, you're simply not approved for use. So the video, is aimed to be lots of questions about the Tozuda impact indicator. We're not here to point fingers and not here to really, cast doubt about anything, but we're here to deal with the facts. The facts is that the Tozuda impact device is not homologated by FIA or not homologated by Schnell. If it was, it wouldn't be an issue. However, we're asking people to stick this device to the rear of their helmet as a concussion monitor. We've all seen the varying, results with it so far. That's not what we're here to talk about. It's not approved for use. It's not approved to be fitted currently. Tozuda may well apply, to the FIA and to Schnell to have the device tested. That's up to them. It's not up to the helmet manufacturers. Hence the letter that we have from the manufacturer stating that we should not be using it.
Can you explain what the certifiers are actually testing for?
Sure. So when Toby Bellbone Enterprises send off their helmet for testing, then FIA test will test a variance of basically to destruction. So they want to destroy the helmet to see if your helmet will pass the test. That's a burn test. That's an abrasion test. That's chin strap test. That's all the accessory tests to make sure that they work. But the FIA test to destruction because that's the ultimate thing for saving your life.
Why is it not homologated or certified or approved by Schnell, FIA, or manufacturers like Bell or Schuberth?
Okay, so as I said earlier, they would need to apply. Tozuda would need to apply to the FIA for certification and a homologation. I'm unsure to what standard because there simply is no standard. They would then need to submit that to the FIA to get a standard done because there is no standard for that. I'm not quite sure how that would go. I think basically looking at the regulations, anything that's fitted to the helmet that is not homologated simply cannot be used. The Tozuda itself is a relatively, this is a good example here. This is Trent Pigden's helmet from his massive shunt last February at the Motorplex. I don't know if your readers can see, viewers can see. You can see at the top here, the carbon, see all the dirt and crap on it. But anyway, the top area here, you can see a couple of lines on it. That's not cracking, that's the clear coat. Gavin Migro quoted to Trent that this helmet impacted the upright at the Motorplex and the fence panels an estimated 180 kilometers an hour. Now, I'm not sure how accurate that is, but that was Gavin's words to Trent. So Trent's told me. So this helmet here, Trent's rolling about in the car, cage just collapsed, Trent's still tumbling, he's hit the fence, bang, done. If there was something solid, GoPro man, Tozuda, anything solid on top of the helmet, would that have impacted the shell? Would it have damaged the shell? None of us know that.
So my understanding is that had the Tozuda device been approved or homologated by not only manufacturers, but also by the appropriate certifiers like FIA and Schnell, then there would be absolutely no problem. But that's not the case. So my question is, could the device be approved in the future?
I don't believe so, because the nature of the device, because it is a plastic mold that fits actually on the shell of the helmet. Anything that can and will puncture the shell of a helmet is deemed as a big no-no. Like we said earlier, these, let me just grab another accessory. This is a rear wing spoiler for a Schuberth again. So this fits on the back of your helmet. So the idea being, if you place it where the Tozuda is on this helmet. So this sits on here. Is that visible for you?
Yeah.
So this sits on here. In the event of an impact, this is very, very, very thin plastic. No different to Bell, RI, Stilo. This would simply crumble and smash. Real simple. A piece of, plastic, solid, semi-solid, is not going to crush, is not going to break.
So with this device not being approved or certified by the manufacturers or the certifiers like FIA or Schnell, how did this device become mandated within sprint car racing in Australia?
Great question, Toby, and I honestly don't know. I really wish somebody could tell me. When it was announced, I questioned it on social media the day that it was announced, and asked who, what, why. Apparently, looking at the social media page of the SCCA, it says that the SMC scrutineers and people appointed it. I've watched Mark's video, and when you interviewed Mark and Mark announced it, Mark also talks about, you know, the SMC and the safety committee, etc., approved it. I feel that yes, concussion is a problem in the sport, and it is something that we need to look at. I just wish that perhaps industry specialists in motorsport, there's probably 4 of us in Australia, were contacted, were advised. Perhaps some of my other colleagues were, but the ones I've spoke to haven't been. And I think it's something that needs to come out in the open as to how this managed to get through. You know, I applaud Mark for going out there and finding something, because that's what he's asked to do. So fair play to Mark. I just feel this device is not the answer. The FIA device that's used by USAC midgets, it doesn't fit on the helmet. It fits back of the seat, on the chassis, on the car. That measures impact speeds, G-forces, and various other things that any scrutineer driver person can scan the QR code with their modern iPhone and download the data. I feel like in supercars, for instance, and Cam's touched on it before, and I know from my experience with supercars, that in the Motec system, there is a meter in the car that alerts the medic in race control when there's an impact of, I believe it's over 100 Gs. This is a similar sort of thing, but on a much, much, much smaller scale. So I feel what we need to do is engage a medical professional, a neurologist, maybe even someone like Dr. Carl Lee from Supercars from the FIA that can give us parameters. So we can look at this device, and Bob Nairn in his sprint car tumbles into the wall at Premier at the Classic. I'm wishing. And then the thing goes off. I'm a bit rattled. Somebody comes along, scans the code, then goes, "Hey, Mike, this is showing here. You hit the wall at 180. You impacted at 150 Gs. This was the terminal speed. We've all agreed as the governing body, Speedway Australia and the SCCA, this is our parameters. You're out until you get medical clearance." I think, personally, that's a far safer way of doing things than attaching things to people's helmets. I'm just not comfortable with sticking things on helmets. We all know about Michael Schumacher. What happened to Michael? It's a skiing helmet, not a motorsport helmet. When the GoPro punched through his ski helmet, and he's now pretty much a vegetable. You know, it's a ski helmet, not a motorsport helmet. It's the same principle. If we're doing 150, 180 Ks round in a metal caged car and we hit the wall versus skiing and falling over and hitting a rock, we're going far faster than Michael Schumacher ever was.